Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Time Out with Derek and Joe. For Joe Azalina, I am Derek and O. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Joe, today we bring another top five list.
Yes, we always enjoy doing these, and I just love researching the different things. And I got a kick out of some of these, and it is going to be the top five list. I actually said I had eight. I think Derek ends up having seven, and we actually have one where each have two players, and I have a little underrated performances, and also there is, of course, the basically like your most valuable player of that Super Bowl or just a great performance. So that's what we're going for today. And I told Derek I'm going to practice my virtue I need work on, and that's patience. So Derek's gonna kick it off, no pun intended.
Yes, so top five best Super Bowl performances, obviously, with the Super Bowl coming up next week. That will be Super Bowl 55. And we're gonna be I don't know about Joe. We don't have each other's lists, so I'm gonna be jumping all over the place here. Um,
Same.
so the first one I'm starting with, honorable mention, two honorable mentions, well, three. Um, First one I have is in Super Bowl 21 between the New York Giants and the Denver Broncos. I had Phil Simms was my first honorable mention. He finished with what is supposedly still the highest QB rating and completion percentage in the history of the Super Bowl at 22 of 25, three touchdowns, 268 yards. Supposedly had a great second half, leading the Giants past the Broncos. And one Bill Parcells said that this may be the best game of quarterback he has ever seen. So um, I had to put Phil Simms on there. Not the best numbers, but still something uh, that caught my eye. Is still has some records up till today. My second honorable mention, which is actually two people, and is the only time in Super Bowl history where there were two co MVPs. And this was for the Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowl 12. Super Bowl 12 was in 1978, and they took down the Denver Broncos again, uh, 27-10. And the two gentlemen I'm talking about is Harvey Martin and Randy White, two players on the Dallas Cowboys defensive line. They led Dallas to the Dallas defense to have the Broncos commit 8 turnovers in that game, 8 turnovers against what was a 14-2 Denver Broncos team. And they led the Cowboys to a 27-10 victory. As I said, the only two co MVPs in Super Bowl history, and they combined for 3 sacks. Super Bowl 12, Joe. The next one is actually someone who has been mentioned on the show before in the Heisman category. And as a Packers fan, Joe, I had to throw him in there. I also didn't want it to be all quarterbacks, so I decided to throw him in. Super Bowl 31, we're going to, between the Green Bay Packers and the New England Patriots. In 1997, Desmond Howard, kick returner for the Green Bay Packers, was my number five, entering my number five. He is the first and only special teams player named MVP, at least to date. I guess we'll see going forward. But he tied the Super Bowl record with a combined 244 yards on punt and kick returns, and consistently um, was putting the Packers in great field position against the Patriots. And in what was ended up being a very key play, after the Patriots brought it down to 27-21, late in the third quarter, he brought the kickoff back 99 yards for a touchdown to make it what ended up making it 35-21 and gave him the breathing room. Joe, special teams is not really something to sneeze at because especially someone like the Patriots there who just coming off a score, they're feeling high on themselves. Then all of a sudden, you give up a kickoff return, you're right back at square one where you were. Special teams are very important. And I guess that's part of the reason why the Packers went down this year, but I wish they had someone like Desmond Howard. But number 4 here. We're going to win the game. I guarantee it. Super Bowl 3. Joe Namath and the New York Jets. Now, no, Joe Namath's numbers were not, exactly memorable. He only had 206 yards. But he guaranteed that the New York Jets were going to win. And apparently he called his own plays. And what was a huge upset that I guess saved the AFL, because for those that don't know, there were 2 different leagues. There was the NFL, which was all the best teams, and then they wanted to expand, so they created this AFL league. But it was known to be kind of a Vince Lombardi said, I don't think they're as good as the top teams as in any of the National Football League. So there were eventually that the AFL champion started to play the NFL champion, and the first 2 were the Green Bay Packers winning. They crushed the Chiefs 35-10 in Super Bowl 1, and the Packers crushed the Raiders 33-14 in Super Bowl 2. So it was, if the Jets would have gotten crushed in Super Bowl 3, that might have been the end of the AFL, because they were on no stretch of the imagination close to the NFL. And it may have changed NFL as we know it today, Joe, because there are a lot of teams that may not even have gone into the NFL then, and it could have changed NFL as we know it. But by the way, they did beat one Johnny Unitas and Don Shula, who was the coach of the Baltimore Colts, who finished 13-1. So the New York Jets winning that Super Bowl was a pretty huge deal back then. Number 3, I have. All right, so I'm kind of all over the place here, but Super Bowl 23, San Francisco 49ers, and 1989, they defeated the Cincinnati Bengals 20-16. Mainly, I have Jerry Rice in here. Jerry Rice had 11 passes, caught 11 passes for a Super Bowl record, 215 yards and a touchdown. He also had a key first down. What was a 2nd and 20, I think it was, on their legendary 92-yard drive to win that game, to beat the Bengals, and which ended up being a Montana to John Taylor touchdown. And I kind of added Montana in there. He did finish with 357 yards and 2 touchdowns in that one. And then I cheated and I talked about, I also have down how Montana in Super Bowl 24 threw for 5 touchdowns in a blowout win to the Broncos. So I threw that one in there, encompassing as number 3, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. Number 2. Now this one may not even be in your list, Joe, but I read about it and I said, you know what? I'm going for it. I have in Super Bowl 22 between the Washington Well, I mean, they were the Washington Redskins at that point, and the Denver Broncos. I wrote down Doug Williams as my number two quarterback for the Redskins. Um, at one time, he was the first round draft pick for the Buccaneers in '78, and he took them to the NFC title game in that season. But Doug Williams, if you look at the stats, even in that year, he had 18 touchdowns and he threw for 24 interceptions. The next year, 20 and 16. The next year, 19, 14. And then he lost the job and became a backup in Washington. He was really not much better than an average quarterback, which makes it pretty amazing that a decade later, after that NFC title game, he was starting Super Bowl 22 for the Redskins after starter Jay Schroeder went down with an injury. The Redskins were down 10-0 in the first quarter. Williams had a knee injury, and then he ended up having them score 35 points for the rest of the way in the second through the fourth quarter on 4 touchdown passes, 356 yards. And he did have one interception, but that got him the MVP and a Super Bowl record 602 total yards for the Redskins. And hey, the first African American QB to win a Super Bowl. So I thought Doug Williams was, for someone who was pretty average at best, having an amazing game at the biggest stage. I thought that was pretty amazing. And number one, we'll see if we have the same one, Joe. Super Bowl 29 for the San Francisco 49ers. I have Steve Young is my number one. Defeating the San Diego Chargers 49-26. I guess facing the same thing that the Patriots are facing now that Tom Brady left. When Joe Montana left the 49ers after, being one of the most decorated quarterbacks ever, Steve Young took over in 91, and he came up short in 93 and 94 in the NFC Championship game. To eventually the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys both times. And then finally in Super Bowl 29, it was kind of known that he can't win the big game, Steve Young. And people were getting a little restless because Joe Montana was the big name, the great quarterback for so long. So they were worried that they weren't going to get there again. And supposedly it was finally the monkey that got off of Steve Young's back. He took him to Super Bowl 29, 325 yards, and still a Super Bowl record, 6 touchdown passes. He also ran for a game high 49 yards and became the first franchise to win 5 Super Bowls. Steve Young is my number one, and I figure no person would probably have to clear a hurdle like that, I guess, until the Patriots need to do it again after Tom Brady left. But Joe, any quick thoughts or before you jump into your top 5?
Sure. Your list was very very interesting as it was kind of spread around the positions. I will say that I kind of did the same thing too. I thought Desmond Howard was a really good one that was creative. I thought the Joe Namath was a really good one. And I really did like, even though that's 2 quarterbacks, I'm going to say Doug Williams was very interesting because we both didn't really see him play. So for you to go with that pick, I thought that was a good one too. We do have one player the same, but that's about it. That's what I can tell. unless I missed
Okay.
something on mine, but I have a couple different interesting ones too. So this list, yeah, it's filled with a lot of different positions. I took into account, like I said, a couple underrated ones, and it starts off with my number 8, as they're two separate players because it's two separate Super Bowls, but they did the same thing, each of them, which is really interesting. In Super Bowl II, on the defensive end, Willie Davis, actually, and I'm really mad at myself. I didn't actually put down the team he played on, but he sacked the quarterback 3 times.
Well, if it was Super
So
Bowl II, it was probably the Packers.
I would think I would
I
think
would
it was,
think.
I would think it's the Packers. And in Super Bowl 43, in a 33-14 win, Darnell Dockett actually had 3 sacks. So I just thought that was interesting how the defense got. We talk so much about offense, and most of my guys
Oh yeah.
are offense, but defense is so important. And I think that showed me, wow, 3 sacks, both guys. It just felt like, wow, I got to put that as my honorable mention, number 8. So I did that. Number 7 is a player I think we both know a lot about, and we saw him growing up as he's a quarterback. He quarterbacked the Arizona Cardinals, I want to say Los Angeles Rams, and he's probably was a couple other teams, but there were the 2 teams that I remembered and I wrote down. They played the Steelers in Super Bowl 43, and Dockett actually was in the game. So I'm assuming with this guy losing that Dockett played for the Steelers at that point. So anyway, he got actually an interception, a 100-yard interception return for the halftime. And even though they lost 27-23, Kurt Warner threw for 300 and some odd yards. He actually did that in the second half. He threw for 3 touchdowns, 377 yards in Super Bowl 43. So Kurt Warner was one of my honorable mentions. I have always liked Kurt Warner. Great story. Supermarket clerk to quarterback in the NFL. Great story.
They were always a huge passing team. I remember, needing to get them in fantasy football back in the day, and Larry Fitzgerald and Bolden, Anquan Bolden.
Yeah.
Back there. Yeah,
And
they
the
were
Rams too.
High flying offense. Yes,
Yeah,
especially with the Rams
Isaac
too.
Bruce, right? And like those guys. So that was Torrey Holt was the other name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So number 6 is a guy like Desmond Howard, wide receiver and kick returner from the Baltimore Ravens, Super Bowl 47. Jacoby Jones. He had 290 all-purpose yards. They won the Super Bowl and a 108-yard touchdown on the opening kickoff. Remember that? That was Jacoby Jones changed the game that day. He was a game changer.
Completely changes the how do you start a game being down 7-0 before you even snap your fingers?
Right.
Yeah, that completely could change your philosophy of where you move forward with the game.
He gave Ray Lewis's defense that day all kinds of support, right, with that big kick return, and they did it with the receiving core that they had, which I can't remember all the names, but they definitely had pretty good receivers even then. And good job by the Ravens. And I remember that when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's got to be in my top around in my list here, but not my top 5, because this top 5 is kind of set up for great players, but also great performances, like we said. So my number 5 is running back, at this point a New England Patriot, James White, in the Super Bowl 51, which it wasn't that long ago. He set the single game record with 14 receptions, 20 points he had, and scored 3 touchdowns. I mean, everybody talks about Tom Brady and all these guys, but like James White was the key to that win. He scored 3 touchdowns by himself. So I had to put
the huge comeback for the Patriots. You see it everywhere. 28-3 it was, right? 28-3.
I think that was the score. Yeah, James White was one of those guys too, if I remember right. He was like that. He could receive the football, but he could run, and he was like a tough runner, right? He was that, like, he just got it done within the trenches, and then he could get outside a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, I think he went to the University of West Virginia. I think he was the running back out of the Big East, if I'm not mistaken, but that's a guess on my part. But he's number 5. Number 4, Derek, is someone that, again, we both have watched growing up, I'm sure. I was a big 49ers fan when I was young. He played on the 49ers, but this Super Bowl in Super Bowl 30 was Deion Sanders and the Dallas Cowboys. Um, Derek, I didn't even write down stats because they didn't even throw the ball his way. They were so scared of Deion that day that they didn't even throw it his way. So that's how good he was when he got the football, whether it was a fumble recovery or an interception or he broke up a pass. He basically was the absolute game changer on the defensive end. He made every quarterback not want to throw the ball towards him. And, played, I think, for the Falcons also. He played for a bunch of different teams, but I remember him as a Niner and a Cowboy. And Deion Sanders absolutely is in my list, and he's my number 4.
Yeah, it's tough to put those into stats or anything because did the other team throw interceptions throwing the other way or even if they weren't to him, it's because they were probably staying away from the number one receiver. That's tough, but that's like your definition of an underrated performance that people don't really give the glory to, but
Yeah,
it was very integral in getting the Cowboys Super Bowl that year, I'm sure.
exactly. And number 3 I have is some would call him underrated, but I just think when the New England Patriots won their Super Bowls, and this was Super Bowl 53, he had 10 catches, 141 yards. I call him the go-to guy. I call him the reliable, and his name is Julian Edelman. I just felt like he was a guy that for so many years was Tom Brady's security blanket, other than Gronkowski. But Edelman just got the job done. Small guy, if people don't know who he is, kind of, small in stature. Not even, he doesn't weigh that much. He's just one of those tough dudes, man. And Julian Edelman had to come in at number 3. Do you have thoughts about Edelman, Derek, at all?
I mean, that was a Super Bowl that, if I recall, everyone hated because of how boring it was. But someone
Right.
had to do the dirty work and get the
Yeah.
yards to get that. It was the 13-3 victory. No one could get anyone going. So Edelman was the one who was moving the chains in that game. So, and yeah, he's kind of tapered off here, but we'll see if Patriots can get a quarterback again, if Edelman can go back to his former glory a little bit.
Yep. Number 2 is a guy you had, but I think I have him in a different Super Bowl, and that's 49ers wide receiver Jerry Rice, one of my favorite players of all time. He just got the job done time and time again. Their go-to guy usually, but this was Super Bowl 31, which I actually wrote down that he had many accolades and many awards, but he set the single game record for 215 receiving yards. And that's a game where the defense is going to be up for the challenge. They're going to be talented. But Jerry Rice just did everything he could do to catch the football and go to the end zone. I mean, he was that good. And that was one of the reasons I latched on to the 49ers when I was in elementary school. I just enjoyed watching Jerry Rice and, even Ricky Waters towards the end of Jerry Rice's career. But Jerry Rice and the tight ends they had there, and Roger Craig, and all those players, and of course Montana and Young didn't hurt.
Right.
They even had battles with your Packers throughout the years. Some of those great games was, I think it was like Sterling Sharp and whoever it was. They always had, and Brett Favre, of course. It was just some great games with. By the way, you got to check out the video between Patrick Mahomes and Brett Favre. Very interesting that they play catch, and I saw on YouTube last night. Very interesting video of Brett Favre and Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, it was kind of cool. Derek, my number 1, and I don't know if I really don't think I could have went any other way in my eyes. And I went with probably arguably, as of we all know, going to be the best quarterback until somebody takes it away from him, is Tom Brady. Super Bowl 52 is something. He lost the game because the Eagles played a great game, but I'll tell you, Tom Brady in a loss threw for 500 yards, and that's all you got to say. I mean, that was unbelievable to watch. I mean, and the Eagles defense is pretty good. They had Malcolm Jenkins and Darby, and they had some good players, and even the linebacking core wasn't bad. Like Tom Brady just shredded that defense, though.
Yeah, I did see that, and it was something that I felt like, how can you not have the questionably maybe the best quarterback ever on my list? But I just couldn't quite do it. But
Hey, we are different, Derek. We only had one the
yes,
same.
very different, very different. So just to wrap it up, this is actually going to be a very quick show, I think. So,
Wow, one of
as our
quicker
top 5 list should probably be, but so my top 5. So this was top 5 best Super Bowl performances. My honorable mention, I have Phil Simms, quarterback for the Giants. That was Super Bowl 21. Second honorable mention is the combination of Harvey Martin and Randy White, defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys in Super Bowl 12. Number 5 was Desmond Howard, kick returner for the Green Bay Packers in Super Bowl 31. Number 4 was Joe Namath, quarterback, New York Jets in Super Bowl 3. Number 3 was kind of a mixed bag, but I kind of added it all in there. Number 3, Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, quarterback wide receiver combo for the 49ers in Super Bowl 23. And then I also had Super Bowl 24 for Joe Montana with his 5 touchdowns. Number 2, I have Doug Williams, quarterback for the Washington Redskins, Super Bowl 22. And then number 1, I have Steve Young, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 29. Joe, your list?
So my honorable mentions, I had Willie Davis, defensive end, and Darnell Dockett. We think Davis played for the Packers. Davis was in Super Bowl 2. Super Bowl 43 was Darnell Dockett, who I think played for the Steelers. He's the other DN. Kurt Warner, the quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, with a great game in Super Bowl 43 and a loss. Number 6 was Jacoby Jones, the do-it-all receiver, kick returner, punt returner from the Baltimore Ravens. He's number 6. Number 5 is James White, the running back from the New England Patriots, 3 touchdowns in Super Bowl 51. Number 4, Deion Sanders, Super Bowl 30 for the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't even throw the ball to him. Number 3, Julian Edelman, Patriots wide receiver, Super Bowl 53. Number 2, Jerry Rice, 49ers receiver, Super Bowl 31. And number 1, Tom Brady, Super Bowl 52, the 505 yards. Exactly. Tom Brady, number 1. And we'll lose the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Well, for those that want to check out our Super Bowl predictions and Super Bowl show, that'll be on Monday, coming out on Tuesday. We're leaving that for a few more days with a couple special guests. So we hope that you can check out that video. But quick show today, top 5 best Super Bowl performances. Joe, last thoughts?
No, just even though it was a quick show, it was hopefully everybody will, sit down and take the time to listen to it, because I think it was we were creative with our picks, both of us, I thought. Yes. And Monday's gonna be fun. I'm not gonna spoil who's gonna come on. I just will say that both guys will definitely give some insight, and it's gonna be a fun show on Monday, and then we'll get ready for some hardcore baseball coming up.
Yep, absolutely. So please feel free to let us know in the comments, email us. Who do you think were some of the best Super Bowl performances? And maybe we may even see one this coming Sunday out of Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Kansas City Chiefs. But as always, we are available on YouTube. Feel free to go find us there. All our videos are up there. All podcast platforms. We're on Facebook, our Facebook page, and we're on Twitter, which we're going to start ramping up a little bit. So follow us on Twitter if you have a Twitter as well. And as Joe mentioned, check out our Super Bowl show coming up this Monday. Probably be up on Tuesday. But as always, thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us here at Timeout. Stay safe, everyone, and take care.